I'm Sophie and I'm here with Randal and Lyndal, and we're just starting up a video series about leadership and change, which we've only just started, so we're a little bit rusty, but hopefully we get better as we go along. So my question for today was, what's the real difference between leaders and leadership?
That sounds a little bit pedantic, but actually it's sometimes the nuance is important. And look, I think the core difference between a leader and leadership is a leader is about a person. So you're really talking about me as a leader, me thinking about myself, how do I come across, what are my characteristics? Whereas leadership is more engaging with others. What is my style? What is my impact? How do I work with others and through others to get what I want?
Yeah, I've got a similar, but as you would guess, slightly different perspective on this as well. I think leadership is essentially a process, and it's a process that where one or more people in an organisation or in a group are able to influence others towards achieving group goals. So it's a process, and leadership is something that we do. A leader, I think, is an attribute. It's something that people decide that you are a leader or not, and it therefore depends on the perspective of who's looking at that person.
So should we work more on producing leaders or developing leadership, would you say?
I think the movement is moving towards leadership.
Yeah.
I think, and if we think about organisational change, the vast reason change fails is because of people. We know that. And how often have you heard in an organisation, oh, well, the change leader or the sponsor moved on and the change stopped? If that change was important in the first place, then you needed the energies of many. You needed leadership. You needed change leadership. It's not one person, it's many.
Yeah, and I think if you go on the street, people have done this many, many times, they go on the street and say, what do you think a leader is? They'll give you a whole bunch of different kinds of traits that leaders do this and leaders do that. It tends to be stuff that they've learned over time. It tends to be very gendered. It tends to be very agentic in its approach. And what really matters, I think, is that doesn't take us very far. It doesn't really help us to actually know what we're supposed to do in an organisation. Whereas leadership, I think, is very bespoke. It's very much about the organisation and the relationship between the person who has influence and the people that they're trying to influence, their followers.
I really like your point that leadership is a process, because leadership is about doing. And I've got a really nice example of an FMCG that was merging, two businesses merging. It was a spill and fill. So it could have been a really contentious change. And we didn't focus on any one, two or three leaders. We looked at the entire leadership group, the top 70, and we used them and what they do. So they shaped the change. They came together. They went back and led that change. So it was leadership by doing. It wasn't led by person.
And that's supported by research as well. There was a really interesting recent study, a longitudinal study of the UK Royal Marines. And what they found there was that those people who thought of themselves as leaders and having leadership qualities had no success over time in leading their group. Whereas those people who thought of themselves as followers tended to actually develop leadership and start to lead the group. However, and I think this is a really interesting point that came out of the study, is that when you're looking at the superiors, they saw those people who are leaders as being the ones who thought they were leaders, even though they seem to be ineffective. So the point being here, I think, is that leadership is something that is a within-group phenomenon. It's something that happens because you are there engaged with your followers. Just because you think you're a leader or it's got written on the business card doesn't mean you're going to actually have any influence.
So what I'm hearing then is, so what to do about it is whether you want to develop leaders, whether you're doing organisational change, there's something about galvanising the energies of the many leaders. And as
the psychologist John Turner said, it's not about me, it's about us. It's not about power over, it's about power through.
Yeah.
So what would developing and expanding leadership in a organisation look like to you? What would you say are maybe 3 things that would be the most helpful?
3 things to develop leaders. What do you think, Randal?
Firstly, is that they have to be in the group. They have to be one of us. Removing leaders, training them away from followers, putting them into the big offices, hundreds of miles away from their teams, makes it very, very difficult for them to lead. They need to be with their group.
So number one is they're part of their group.
Yep.
Number two is that any development is with their followers, and I think we're going to pick that up in another video.
Yeah.
What would be the third one?
You have to take action in the benefit of that group. And they need to perceive that you are taking action for them, not for your own benefit. And often we see leaders getting great bonuses while they're cutting and slashing organisations in the interest of all of us. Well, that just doesn't work.
Thank you for watching. Please feel free to send any questions you have, and hopefully we can answer them in the future.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.